Oh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to a game of two halves. Good morning, Charlie.
Morning.
Yeah, we got to be a bit mixed up with time. So Robbie is not around at the moment. Apparently, he's barbecue cleaning. Guys, what a week in football again. It never rains when it pours, especially over the London Stadium. So although we was going to forget all about Premier League football, or in West Ham's case, Championship League football. And lo and behold, this week the owner of West Ham, the co-owner. Some say he owns 40% and Kretinsky owns 40%. Others say that he owns 37.5%, and he's still the main shares owner. So this is the statement he's released. Right, there was supposed to be a panorama program coming out last week, and the lawyers got involved and they stopped it coming. I think about 2 months ago. It was released at the beginning of the season. There was a Premier League owner that was being investigated for historical sexual abuse, etc., allegedly. And then the anonymity got lifted that it was David Sullivan, the West Ham co-chairman. This was his statement. So these are his words from David Sullivan. I've recently become aware that factually incorrect and entirely false decades-old allegations concerning my personal life are due to be broadcast and published. That will be Panorama tomorrow night. The false allegations levelled against me have been sensationalised by the media. After a lifetime spent building business in the adult industry, in which I have met thousands of women, it is sadly inevitable that a small number of improper conduct claims are being made against me. I categorically deny these claims. I am a private man who personally and professionally will know the real David Sullivan, not this caricature invented by the tabloids. Everyone knows exactly who I am and what I stand for. I am absolutely not the person the media have tried to paint me as. I've not been provided with any proper explanation as to how these individuals or their claims were independently verified or assessed for credibility prior to publication. I believe that the entire process has been fundamentally unfair and completely lacking in any due impartiality. I will be suing the BBC for libel, along with other media outlets that repeat any libelous allegations. None of these allegations relate to my more than 30 years in football, with West Ham United has been one of my greatest passions and privileges of my life. I care deeply about the club, its supporters, the players and staff, and its future. At the moment, this is really a challenging and important time for the club, so I refuse to allow personal matters concerning me to become unnecessary distraction or source to the club. Therefore, after very careful consideration, and with a heavy heart, I've decided to resign my joint chair and director of West Ham United with immediate effect. This has been an incredibly painful decision to make, but it's one made out of love and respect and responsibility towards a football club and fan base that deserve absolute unity and focus moving forward. I'm stepping down to apply full energy and attention on fighting these allegations. I've officially engaged my legal team and we're preparing to issue with proceedings and every false complaint that has been made against me. I will be seeking full redress legally and publicly on front. As I depart, I want to thank everyone connected with West Ham, past and present, for loyalty and friendship, memories, and the European adventures I will carry with me forever. He said he's left the board of directors and interim chief executive officer Karim Viriani. He will take charge at this moment. He said, I will not be making further public comment at this stage, but I reserve all legal rights available to me in relation to any false or defamatory allegations. Well, Charlie, what do you think of that? Did he have to go?
I think in today's world, yeah, because you can't really face those allegations while still. I mean, we've seen it with players, haven't we? Now, the moment something comes out about the club suspends them right away. They're no longer allowed to play or anything like that. So why would it be any different if you're an owner? I'm not sure why he has to say the word historic, like sexual abuse is sexual abuse, is it not? Regardless of whether it was 10 years ago or 10 days ago. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't see how Harry could have stayed. And going off social media, I don't think any West Ham fans are particularly bothered. But I think they're quite glad he's left.
Yeah, I mean, we knew something was up about a month ago, 5 to 6 weeks ago. Karen Brady left and 4 other individuals consulted with a finite side. It was very strange that they didn't leave like wait till the end of the season, you know, and waited to see if we got relegated or waited to see whatever else happened. It really was strange to me. I was told something about 2 years ago, and I'm always one of those people innocent to proven guilty, you know. So, do I think he had to go? I think personally he had to go. I think for the club he had to go. I think this would have come out earlier on in the season. Can you imagine the away fans? Like, I remember when Adam Johnson got found guilty at Sunderland, and it was almost like a lot of other fans almost said that all the Sunderland fans and all the Sunderland players were sort of, they started singing songs about the team, wasn't it? And it was one individual. And I think this would have happened with West Ham if Sullivan didn't step down. We'll have to see what this panorama says. I expect there'll be 60,000 Claret and Brew fans glued to the BBC tomorrow watching it. But I think it was right to go. I think Brady and these other four that went have jumped ship. And I think this is a rolling stone, and a rolling stone gathers no moss. And I think a bit like what happened with that Harvey Weinstein earlier on and within the film industry, I think this, once it starts gathering speed, I think there will be a lot coming out. I mean, he has got 2 sons behind the scene. Is he just going to let them take hold of his... It's been banded around. He's got 37.5 or 40%. It's one or the other. So do they take the reins? You know, who has his voting on the shares? I don't know, but I think it's sad for the club, because I think the club have really had a bad period over the last 4 or 5 years. The media come out in support of David Moyes, still getting thrown in your face about if Moyes stayed. Well, once someone goes, they goes, isn't it? You can't, you know, as much as the success Ferguson had at Man United, once he went, it's the end of an era, isn't it? Pep Guardiola's gone. Rumours saying now that he said at the beginning, if any of these allegations are true, these 115 charges labelled against City, then I will leave. And there's rumours coming up that finally the charges against City, we will get the punishment. I don't think they get punished. I think they get a fine. Do you think that will be the case for City, Charlie?
I know people are saying they could get demoted and all things like that. I think it'd be a real big fine, a possible points deduction. Yeah, I can't see him like getting relegated though.
No, I'll tell you what I did find interesting. I watched a podcast, Man City podcast, and he said that the EFL don't have to take them. If they don't want them in the league, they don't have to, and nor do what we would call the first division or the second division. So no one really needs to take them. I can't see it happening with City. It's all to do with, let's pick out, let's say it was Emirates, you know, and shirt deals apparently around about 15 million for the top team, and Emirates sponsor City for like 50 million. And they're saying they didn't really put that in the owners. Who knows? But I think we all know it's been going on for that. Right, Charlie, as you know, my favourite subject has been the World Cup. We'll be going off to sunny Spain to watch it next week. Everyone knows my thoughts on it. You know, this week there's been 20 South African players been denied visas, so they can't get in. The Congolese team have been told that they've got to go into isolation for X amount of days. This week, a load of Scottish fans that had had their visas approved, they've paid and made all their bookings, and now they're told they're not being approved, and why. And it could be someone else's family member's historical Facebook post or something. I told you, I think it's a farce, and it's for me, it's just going to get worse, and I think it will probably be as bad as the '94. But Charlie, are you looking forward to the World Cup? Yes or no?
I can't really remember the last time there was a World Cup where I don't think there was almost that much hype about it, and you were kind of looking forward to it and things like that, you know, looking at the squads, who's gone missing and stuff. I think, am I looking forward to it at the moment? No, but I'm hoping kind of next week, you know, it starts on Thursday, and once you watch that first game, you kind of then get the hype for it.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, but my morals are telling me that this time I won't be watching it. Obviously, a lot of the games are late. I'm quite anti putting games on, because obviously if we're singing in bars, then we get cancelled, you know, so especially if the England games are on. But anyway, Brazil have won it 5 times. We've got Italy 4 times, Germany 4 times, Argentina 3, France 2, and Uruguay, surprisingly, I thought they'd only won it once, but they've actually won it twice. So, who would you say going in are the favourites? A lot of people are sort of saying roughly probably France are the favourites.
Yeah, I think for me, I would put Spain or France. Probably Spain edges it, just because every championship, even in the Euros, you always look at their squad, and it's just it's almost it's just packed with talent, and you can't really see many things wrong with it. You know, you look at the England squad. I mean, personally, I look at the defense, and I think it's quite weak. And that's the thing. But when you look at France, you go, "Oh, like that is not a good squad."
Yeah, I agree. But we had all this trouble in '94 with the temperatures, didn't we? And Jack Charlton, because at that point they didn't stop games, did they, for drinks breaks? And at that point, Jack Charlton, I remember him throwing bottles on to all the players, like to try and get, which was they had a good run, the Irish team that time. I think with it, it's at altitude in Mexico, isn't it? And they say that it goes, the ball will act differently. And then you've got the problems. The Canadians this week have come out and said they're only hosting 13 games. It's costing the country $1 billion. The government are only sending out 500,000 to the local boroughs, should we say, and they've got to find the rest of the money. Turns out that all the big sponsorship deals, all the money's going into America. Are you sitting on a merry-go-round this morning,
No,
Charlie?
my dog is causing. He's being a pain in the arse.
One of my dogs was at a peg and it's got stuck in his tooth, and he will not let us get it out. And he's been it like for a day and a half now, and obviously there's no vets open at the moment.
He's just moaned and moaned for me to open the back door, and then I've opened it, and then he's gone and laid back down on his bed. So
yeah, I must admit, like as a child, I was born in '62, so '66 I don't really remember. But for me, 1970, watching that Brazil winning team of 1970 with the Pele, they had the tight blue shorts and the tight yellow kits. One of my favourite kits ever, that Brazilian kit. And Gordon Banks' save and what's his name? Jarzinho scored against England, didn't it? Bobby Moore and Pele embracing. That was the start of the World Cup for me. What age was you when you sort of really embraced the World Cup?
I mean, 94 was too soon for me. I was only around 6. So I didn't. I like vaguely remember people watching it on the telly, but not enough to really remember anything. France '98 was my first World Cup, and I remember the whole build up to it, kind of being a lot about the Brazilian Ronaldo. How he was meant to shine. It was going to be his World Cup, and from an England point of view, you had the whole thing with Gaza, didn't you? Not being picked after kind of what happened, and I think Ian Wright missing out, and I kind of remember things like that. And but the tournament as a whole, I thought was great. I kind of remember being in. I think the Tunisia game was on, and we was allowed to watch it in school. I remember that, but yeah, just some great memories about it. And I like Bergkamp, and yeah, it was my first World Cup, but it got you hooked.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I mean, it's a much easier now to get the tops if you know where to get them. At the time, as you know, when you wanted an England kit, you had to sort of pay the money for it. But 1970 for me, and then '74, you had the Dutch Total Football, didn't you, with Johan Cruyff and his team, and we had an English referee for the final, Jack Taylor, his name was, and they got penalty really early in the game. Cruyff done a run and he got brought down, and they went 1-0 up, but they come back and won it 2-1, as we know the Germans do. And then '78, we didn't qualify England, and for whatever reason, Ali McLeod made the whole Scottish nation think that they weren't going over to compete. They was actually going over there to win it, and they made up a song, Ali's Army. We're on the march with Ali's Army. We're all off to Argentina. We're really and like I really bought into that, and I wasn't one of those that didn't want Scotland to win. And at the time, my granddad was in an hospital. We used to call it the Jewish Hospital, which later on went to be called the Chest Hospital, ran back Stepney Way. And he gave me his keys. He said, "Will you look after the house and that?" And he used to grow plants on his garden and lettuces and tomatoes and stuff. And he went, "Will you look after the place?" So I sat around there and obviously wanted the Scottish team to win. Unfortunately, they lost their first 2 games, and although they scored first against Peru, there were 2. I was talking yesterday. There were 2 great goals. I think one of the guys was called Cabillas, and he hits the ball from a free kick with the outside of his right foot into the top left-hand corner. I watched it back yesterday, and even then I can't remember how he done it. And then, of course, the great, Argentine the Dutch team at the time, who you thought, was going to go on and possibly win it after 74. What comes on? Scotland go on, and Archie Gemmill scores a Maradona-like goal, doesn't he? And scores a fantastic goal.
I think, but I think for me as well, like, I think the one thing's what used to make World Cups a little bit more special was it wasn't easy to qualify for. And I remember like France '98. One of the good things, like we had to go over to Italy, didn't we, in the qualifiers to get a result, and ended up drawing 0-0, and everyone was going mental. And I think it was Jonathan Pearce who was like, "And England are going to France, 1998." And I think now as well, it's a lot more easier especially for the big nations to qualify. I know people will turn around and say, "Well, that's not the case for Italy," but I think it was a lot harder to qualify back then. I think which kind of made it more special once you got to a tournament as well. And like, there's 48 teams in it now. Like, as much as I look forward to a World Cup, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking like 2:00 in the morning, you've got like Iran v New Zealand and things like that. And I'm just like, I don't think I'll be getting up at 2:00 in the morning to watch it.
No, I agree. I mean, it's going up to, don't even ask about the 20. The next one, because it's supposed to be all around Europe, and it's Spain, Morocco, Portugal, but they've got games in
Argentina and Paraguay. Yeah.
It's just the money making scene, and there will be 64 teams. I do agree they do make it easier for certain teams to enjoy. Did you ever have a favourite kit? I mean, I did like that Peru kit. It was white with like a diagonal red stripe that went across it. Did you have a favourite kits that you used to like?
I think looking back, like Eurosport used to do, how the World Cup was won in, certain years and stuff. And I used to love all that. I used to sit there for hours and watch Eurosport for stuff like that. But I always remember the Germany kit in 1990. When you look back at the old World Cups, I thought that was a real good one. I think England have kind of had some, but I think because it was my first World Cup as well, I think that England-France '98 one kind of always sticks in my head. The Dutch have had, and the Dutch have always had a good kit. Very rarely do they go into a World Cup and have a bad kit. And Brazil '98 as well. It was a nice kit. You had a yellow with a little bit of a green trim at the sides, and that blue shorts, white socks.
Yeah, I love the Brazil kit. That's 1970 side had everything. The game against England. I mean, there was rumours that they poisoned Gordon Banks, didn't they? They give it, drinking the same beer as everyone else. He ended up really ill. Then they accused Bobby Moore of nicking a bracelet, and Bobby Moore had to go to court and what else. I mean, whether you believe it or not, I mean, Cruyff didn't go in '78 because what had been going on in Argentina, and also there'd been people tried to kidnap his family, so he decided not to go. And I mean, in that '78 game, they did say there was a lot of corruption, and whether it was or it ain't, I think you should try and keep, like you said to me, for God knows how long, politics out of football. Now, I talked to you about the Archie Gemmill goal, Charlie, which for me was it was just a beautiful goal. But my favourite goal ever was the Dennis Bergkamp one that comes over his head. He controls it with his right foot, spins it back round, and then hits it with the outside of his right foot. And I always remember they'd beaten England, the Argentines, but the Argentine players had got on the bus and they took all their time, and they was waving, and they were singing all this to the England players. And apparently, Cruyff said it. Jonathan Pearce, it was very disrespectful. So when Bergkamp got that goal and he was like, "Goodbye, good riddance," and bloody glad that you're going out, he just forgot all about it. It was a great bit of commentary. I mean, for me, obviously, the most favourite bit of commentary would always be they think it's all over, and it is now in 1966. Whether I get the chance to see England winning another game in another World Cup in my lifetime, I think, unless we get a progressive manager that wants to attack and score goals, I think, sadly, I don't think I'm going to see it. But do you have any great memories of great gols that really, really brings excitement to you in the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, that Bergkamp one, even the Dutch commentary for it is brilliant, and it comes up every World Cup, and it's so good because, like you say, the commentator just loses all sense of everything, and he's just screaming Bergkamp's name. It was great, but Yeah, I mean, some great goals. Michael Owens won against Argentina. That always sticks out again. You got James Rodriguez scored like a chest and volleyed it outside the box. Maxi Rodriguez did something similar for Argentina. There's been some great free kicks. Even like team goals. Like I remember Argentina getting a good one against Serbia. I think every player had a touch of the ball and passed it. It was a great move. But yeah, and that's what you hope. Like memories, isn't it? Memories that kind of stick in your head. But yes, some absolute great. I think like even the one in Germany. I think Torsten Frings hit an absolute peach in the first game against Costa Rica. But yeah, and that's what you want memories. Like I remember Ronaldo's free kick against Spain. I think he made it 3-3. And then the next day they were showing it like people literally standing on the street in Times Square watching him score that free kick. And that's what you want. Memories, isn't it?
The Van Persie header against
Van Persie, yeah.
Spain.
I mean, yeah. Like again, you go back to even matches. I don't think many people had Holland to beat Spain 5-1 that day.
No, they knocked him out, didn't they? Do you know all the commentators? They're supposed to be neutral. They've got to be unbiased. So when they commentate on it, like they can't. If they're English, they can't really want the English to win and that. Like, but I don't know what had gone on with that Argentine team, but they upset. I mean, the last one when they said it was all screened for Messi to win the World Cup, didn't they? And I remember that game against Holland. And within literally in the first 5 minutes, he put his hand up and pushed the ball forward, and he never got booked, does he? Do you remember that? And literally, you see Van Dijk looking at the referee, going, "What? And then not one Argentine player got booked in the first half, and a few Dutch players. And I think that was something iffy going on there with the referees.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, it's kind of one of those controversial moments. I mean, I agree. I don't see how he didn't get booked in that. And I mean, I know he scored a lot of penalties. I don't think he was great in that tournament. I think he played well. I don't think he was absolutely outstanding. But yeah, I think people did make a lot about it. But yeah, I think I'm kind of hoping to get into it. But even like for the fans out there, like it's the Dutch in it, and they bring their orange, and they march along the street, and there was that dance they had, didn't they, at the Euros, and you kind of see that again, and then you'll have to I'm sure the Scots will make loads of noise out in New York with their game, and you kind of want to see all these big crowds and like a bit of a festival rather than just people talking about.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the negatives, really. I mean,
No.
do you know who's got the most goals at a World Cup in one tournament? You know?
Well, a player.
Yeah.
I think it just Fontaine for France. You got 13.
Where'd you get that from, Charlie? 13 goals. That is never, ever going to be equalled again.
No. I mean, for 13 goals in one World Cup. And I don't even think there was probably, I'd love to know how many games he got it in as well.
1958. It weren't a lot of games, was it?
It weren't a lot. That's what I mean. You think you get like, I mean, most World Cups were 7 games. And I think now, like, because it's 48, you probably get a couple more and all. So
I think there's 104 matches this tournament. It's just bad money. I mean, look, it's so corrupt now. And they've gone to the country with the president that's the most corrupt on the planet. Charlie, I just got to take you back to the England team. I've been a bit disappointed with some of the picks he's made. And I think, especially on the attacking side, I mean, I do think that Harry Maguire should have gone, because I think Harry Maguire is good in the air. He can nick a goal for you. You can push him up front. So tell me what the England team is going to be for the first game.
Well, we played New Zealand yesterday, didn't we? And I mean, I know you can't really go off it too much, but he started John Stones. You could argue, I don't think he's played for City that much this year. So I think you could understand Maguire being a bit kind of not really understanding why he got picked over him. I mean, I think Quansah plays in Germany now, didn't he? I'm not quite sure. So is he had a good season or not? I think for me, it's the fullback positions. I'm not really convinced by, even like the left back kind of thing. I think too many players, though, and especially from the forward line, have been out of form all year. Like I don't think Rashford has had a particularly great season for Barcelona. I think he's done it okay. But when you look at that forward line, and I know Anthony Gordon's just got his move to Barcelona, but you look at it and kind of go, well, Harry Kane's the only one who's really had a good season. And I think all the others have been patchy at best. You could kind of say the same for the midfield.
I agree. I think they're going to have to play a two. I think, we know Kane scored over 50 goals. I think he needs to play two up front because I tell you, any team will be double marking up. They will be man marking up on Harry Kane and they'll be doubling up on him. So I think you need a player like Ollie Watkins because I think Kane's going to have to drop deep like he did in the last season, really, season half at Spurs. That's why Son scored so many goals. I do think that Harry Kane is a lot better footballer than people give him credit for, not just a goal scorer. But I think he's going to be marked out the game. I really do.
If he drops deeper, then the idea is that he needs runners, doesn't he? He needs the likes of Rashford and Golden, kind of either side of him to kind of provide that pace, which are kind of, probably makes a reason as to why he never really took Foden and Palmer, because not just because they've had good seasons, but Kane hasn't got the pace. That's the one thing he hasn't got. But he's got a great footballing brain, and he's passing. I've always said is quite underrated. But if he and he can do that ball kind of in behind over the defence, and that's when you get your pacey wingers really onto it.
Yeah, Charlie, just you mentioned Rashford, and we all know that he's very disruptive influence, and I don't think Barcelona's taken up the option to keep him there, are they? And now you're together there for 4 or 5 weeks, right? As a squad, should you take a player that's a disruptive influence? I remember when Bobby, what was the World Cup with Gaza? And I can't think it was. It was one where he was crying, weren't it? And basically, they was all lying around the pool, and all of a sudden, At come out like a mummy, like dressed in toilet roll, just walking along like a mummy, and then walked up to the top board, jumped off the board, all the bog rolling in red. Turns out he was was underneath. He come up like everyone was shaking their head. And apparently, Bobby Robson had a team meeting on the evening, and he went, "Gentlemen, we have an effing idiot amongst us." Now, when it got to the Glenn Hoddle situation, when he was manager and he left him out, Hoddle noticed that he was drinking. They went away on a golfing day and his bag was full of booze. I remember they had a karaoke in the hotel and he was drunk and he was shouting out to Tony Adams, "Oi, you boring bee. Like, come over here and have a drink." And obviously at the time, Tony Adams was a recovering alcoholic. So do you think we should take people like Rashford just purely they're not going to be a squad member?
I think the problem is, when you're together for 4 or 5 weeks, and so we're led to believe, that squad harmony and how they conduct themselves or the kind of atmosphere plays a lot into it. You go back to 2010, they kind of a big reason why they said they failed was because Capello was too strict on them and wouldn't let them do anything. I don't see how you can go away for 1 month, or at least over a month, if you get all the way, and be a negative on the dressing room. Like Gaza was kind of a joker and stuff, and I think maybe you kind of need that because people, cuts the tension a bit and a bit more relaxed, and players maybe have a laugh and a joke. I mean, all right, you can probably take it too far, but I don't know. You would feel really weird if Rashford was there, causing a disruptive influence, wouldn't you? But it's the England.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, there was one instance. I mean, it doesn't get mentioned a lot, but they started playing cards for a lot of money when the money started coming in the game. And Michael Owen lost over 100,000 to Kieran Dyer, and they reckon it caused real bad ructions, and they should have been paying for that money in the team anyway, which is a lot of money to lose. And if you've lost that and you've got the ump about losing,
but we've seen it with other squads as well. The Dutch were famous, wasn't they, for kind of getting to tournaments and then almost there'd be this dressing room problem and they would implode. Like we see it with France as well, didn't we? And I think, they had like dressing room punch ups before. That I think they refused to play a game, didn't they, once because they was falling out with the manager. So it does seem to be every tournament you go there and then there's a team that ends up kind of having a bit of a fallout. It's kind of it was always what happens, but you would hope that it's not us.
What happened amongst the Republic of Ireland camp, though, did they? They had a real good lot of harmony there, did they? They never had anyone do a walkout, did they?
Well, yeah. That was one of the most famous World Cup moments, isn't it, in a way, before it even kicked off. But, I mean, in a way, it probably brought the squad together. I think they was a bit unlucky, didn't they? I think they got knocked out by Spain, didn't they, on penalties or something like that? They was a bit
I mean,
unlucky.
I made him right really keen. He sort of said like that the Republic of Ireland was considered a joke, and they called it the FAI, didn't they, of Ireland, the Federation of FA Football,
Yeah.
and they said it stood for Find Another Irishman. So they'd go around and see whose mum had a passport or great granddad had a passport. He said, but when they got out there, the keeper I think was Paddy Bonner. And they said, come and play a five-a-side, no goalkeepers. And he went, hold on a minute, we're playing in this football. And he said it was a real bad, everything, all the infrastructure there, the training pitches were no good. And it was because they wouldn't let him, they wanted him to play in a five-a-side, not in a goalkeeper. And he said, put him in goal. Let's start running through, systems, etc. for when we're playing against this team. And McCarthy went, no, you don't run the team, I do. And he said to him, if you fail to prepare, you'll prepare to fail. And I can't repeat the rest of the words that he said, but most of them begun with the C word. And he went home, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a massive storyline. But they ended up doing well, Ireland. And again, you think because of the fans, when the Irish go out there, they do bring good atmosphere, didn't you? So again, you talk about atmospheres and fans going out there, like you don't want to be going out there causing punch-ups anymore. You would hope that football's moved on from all that.
Yeah, Italia 90, I think, was one of the last ones with the hooligans. I mean, I remember sitting watching the 74 one, and I was absolutely convinced that the Dutch was going to win it. And they had two brothers, Willie and Rennie van der Kerkhoff, the Dutch, and one of them had fallen over in the semi and fractured his wrist. And the start of the final, we come out with a cast on, and the Germans refused to play. They said if he goes to turn round, he might whack us and not that. And the Dutch went, well, all right, if you don't want him to play, we won't play. So the World Cup final was ready to go. Like they was going to refuse to play. Eventually, the Germans let him wrap it up. I'll tell you another controversial moment. I cannot remember who they were playing, but Brazil were losing, and we had this referee in England. He was probably the best referee in the UK at the time, called Clive Thomas, Welsh guy. And Brazil got a corner with like a minute to go, and they took the corner. And if you listen back to it, when they take the corner, it does blow up because Clive Thomas said apparently, to finish a game, the ball has to be in play. Yeah, at the end of the first half. Anyway, the ball went in the box and Brazil scored, and he disallowed it. So there was absolute mayhem on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we've had some real big, dirty games. I think the Dutch and the Argentines, the Portuguese team was quite. They had a big lot of bad feeling with a few games, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean that Holland-Portugal one, I think, is like one of the most dirtiest games of all time, I think, wasn't it? You have had some real bad blood games. But I mean, you kind of want that rivalry as well, didn't you? And, like if, for example, I think Argentina and Holland could possibly meet quite early in the knockout stage. And considering what happened in the last World Cup, it kind of ended on bad terms with them. So then again, you kind of like, there's a bit of a rivalry there. And same thing with kind of other countries. You kind of want countries to meet where there is a bit of that needle, because then it makes the game more exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, I remember the ball went off. It went off, and one of the Dutch players kicked it back on, and one of the Argentine players on the pitch at full pelt, he kicked the ball into the Dutch substitutes. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Talking about kicking the ball. Do you remember when it was his name? Oh, I can't think of his name. He got the ball he got it in the
Rivaldo.
He lay on the floor holding his face, didn't he?
Rivaldo, yeah, Rivaldo. His knee, didn't it? And then he went down and he got the player sent off. But
are there any new rules for the World Cup, Charlie? Because they seem to change rules willy-nilly now, especially with VAR.
I don't think in terms of rules on the pitch. I don't know if it's true, but I read something the other day where apparently if a player experiences racial abuse, he's to go over and go like that to the ref. And I think that's kind of meant to then signal to the ref to stop the game or whatever else. In terms of on the pitch, as far as I'm aware, there's no more. There's not any new rules, but I'd have to look.
Yeah, listen, I remember like when Suarez bit someone, didn't he? Bit an Italian player, and you actually see the tooth marks here, didn't he? He also he handballed on the goal line. Was it against Senegal?
Yeah, it was. It was proper late into injury time, and he handballed it.
They won the game, weren't they?
Asamoah Gyan took the penalty, blazed it over the bar, and then it went to a penalty shootout, and Uruguay won. And you could actually see
What I'm saying to
Suarez
you
on
now,
the
Charlie,
touchline
let's say it's an
celebrating.
handball, right? Yeah, but let's say it's an handball, and it's 100% going to stop a goal, right? It should be a goal. It shouldn't be a penalty because, like, you could miss the penalty. Whereas if these he puts his hand out like Suarez did, stops the ball. It's not a penalty. A bit like they have penalty tries in rugby. They go, no, it was a goal because if you hadn't handled it, it shouldn't go in where you can miss a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, common sense, you'd think, well, just give him the goal. It was going in. Like,
Yeah.
it'd just be so much easier if you just turn around and say, well, the ball was going in anyway. No one was behind it. It was definitely going to hit the back of the net. So just give it as a goal and move on rather than give a penalty. But I suppose you can see it from the referee's point of view. He has to apply the laws of the game.
Change the laws then.
Yeah, change the laws.
Yeah, Charlie, whenever I used to watch the World Cup, you always come out of it with a great goal scorer, didn't you? And a great number 9. We spoke about this quite a few times that we think there's a dearth of real strikers. But when I was looking at the strikers, one of my favourites ever was like Marco van Basten. I think he was complete. He could use his head. He had skill. He was really tough. You know what I mean? He scored a hat-trick against England in the Euros, didn't he? Do you think could you imagine the amount of goals that these players from yesteryears would score now with this VAR crap? Because the defenders can't touch them, can they? So for the likes of Van Basten, the likes of Pele, Jarzinho, Batistuta, just loads of old, really good number 9s, they'd have a field day now because no one can come up and grab them from behind and kick them or anything else.
I mean, they would have a field day, but I think also you look back at goals where, you know, the referee blew and to give a free kick or something. Like if you remember Argentina, England in 98 goes up, I think it was a corner, and Shearer goes up and he looks at the ball. He ain't even looking at the goalkeeper, and then he misses it, and Campbell scores an header, and the referee ruled it out and said that Shearer fouled the goalkeeper, and he went, I was just trying to kind of get myself up. He went, I didn't even know he was there. And you would look at VAR now and go, would that have been given? I mean, that was in an extra time. Like we could have gone on probably, we might have gone on and won that game. But yeah, striker wise. But I think the one thing as well, like everyone talks about that World Cup boot, didn't they? Who's going to win it? And there was so many times where whoever won the Golden Boot, no one would have guessed it. I mean, I always remember France '98. Davor Suker, I think, won the Golden Boot. He had a great World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, he got a few goals, didn't he? I can't remember his name. Now. Gary Lineker, and I mean the game we played against Cameroon, and they had Roger Miller, didn't they? No one knew his age on his passport. He said it was 38. People said he put him into his 40s, but he got through twice, didn't he? And scored against England and did the dance round.
Yeah.
That was one of the first times he took 2 penalties in that game, Lineker, and put 2 right down the middle, didn't he? One of the first when people started putting penalties down the middle.
I think, I see him talking about that once. I think he said he was a bit too scared to go for it. So he was, I'm just going to smash it down the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I yesteryears and the excitement it gave me, I don't know whether VAR has dampened my enthusiasm for football. There's a lot more acting. I'm not going to mention what teams have played on the VAR. If you can get the VAR, someone scores from the sideline now, or from the halfway line. All the defenders are still putting their hand up as if to say, can VAR find something? It has lost the enthusiasm. For me, West Ham will be in the Championship next year, and it could be better. I mean, what is your favourite World Cup goal from an England player? Mine was Joey Coles. Brought it down, hit it over the outside of his left boot, and it went in the top right-hand corner, didn't it?
I mean, Michael Owens is always up there. Definitely. Joe Coles was a great hit. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, really. I think Michael Owens for me. I mean, Scholes scored a great one. Turned on the edge of the box against Tunisia. That was a good one. But I think a big one for me was Beckham's free kick against Colombia. I remember he was in Spain for that. I remember everyone going absolutely mental. And I know it was a free kick, but yeah, I think being a Man United fan as well at the time.
I think Beckham's against Greece for me. Nothing will ever take away.
In the qualifiers, I mean, his performance that day was brilliant anyway. And to top it off with that free kick goal to get us to the World Cup. Again, getting to the World Cup, big big kind of thing. And yeah, I think Gerrard got a good goal once. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie, have you done we've had this argument, Charlie and I, going on a few weeks. He's been in a very good mood today. It's probably because Robbie ain't here and he tries to wind me up in front of Robbie. But we said we're going to pick our own throughout the World Cup. We want people to send in their best 11. So either send them to me or you can put them in the comments and send your best 11. It can be from any era, any time. It's your player. Whether they've played in the World Cup or not, it don't matter. Just put who you think would be a best World 11 team. So today we're going to start off with Charlie, and you can talk us through your team, Charlie.
Well, I still have done this based on who I think played well at a World Cup, and the World Cups I've actually watched. So there are players I've missed out, like Pele and Maradona and that, but they were very much before my time. So in goal, I went with Buffon. For Italy, I think when they won the World Cup, he didn't really concede a goal all tournament, and I thought he was great. I've gone with Lilian
Charlie,
Thuram.
I've got to tell you, if I was picking my greatest Italian team, I'd have gone with Dino Zoff. He played in a World Cup final at 40 years of age. He was the captain. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, but I think I just kind of wanted to stick to the World Cups I'd seen because I feel like it made it a bit more easier for me as well. And I know I would have watched them.
Go for it. Who was your left back or your right back?
Right back was Lilian Thuram, France '98. No, I've tried to. No, I think and he scored 2 goals in the semi-final against Croatia to get, and I think he had a good tournament overall. I think people later, like he had a tournament later on that people said was better, but I think France '98. Centre backs, I've gone with Cannavaro again when Italy won that World Cup in 2006. I think they won it. I thought he was brilliant in that World Cup. I actually think Cannavaro is quite an underrated defender. I don't think many people talk about him. And I think a lot of it's to do with his height as well. For a centre back, he was quite small. But I thought he was brilliant in that tournament. I really did. My next centre back, I went with Puyol when Spain won it in 2010.
Carlos Puyol.
Carlos Puyol. Spain didn't concede that many goals. I mean, I think they were the only team to lose their opening game and then actually go on to win the World Cup. But after losing to Switzerland, they only conceded once more, and that was against Chile in the group stage. And yeah, I thought he was a real good leader, Puyol, and I thought he had a real good tournament as well. And then left back, I went with Roberto Carlos for the Brazil team in 2002.
Great shot. Could take good free kick as well, couldn't he?
Yeah. Got up and down that left thing all day long, didn't he?
Did he play in that game where we got up about 7 o'clock in the morning and
7:30, wasn't it? It was World Cup 2002. We played Brazil at 7:30, and Ronaldinho scored that free kick, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't mean that, did he? Should have got that, Seaman. He should definitely have got that. Right, your midfield, son.
I've kind of gone with a 4-4-2, but left midfield, I've gone with Robben for the Dutch team in 2010. I thought they was really unlucky in the final, actually, and he probably should have scored, but he had a real good tournament, Robben, and I think in the World Cup after that, I think he played and he had a good tournament. I thought he was a great player overall, but he definitely turned up in 2010.
Yeah, I agree.
My 2 midfielders, I went with Zidane. Now Zidane for 2 World Cups in France '98, but also in 2006. I remember the quarter-final against Brazil in 2000, and he absolutely took that Brazil team apart on his own. It was one of the best performances I'd ever seen. I mean, it ended in disgrace, like kind of one of those most iconic photos is him getting sent off and then walking past the World Cup trophy. But he was brilliant, and he did turn up for France in tournaments, that was for sure. And then on the right...
Sorry, you've missed your other centre midfielder.
Yeah. My other centre midfielder was Luka Modric.
He got some great goals for Croatia, Charles.
Yeah, and especially in the 2018 World Cup. I think Croatia got to the final that year, but he was brilliant. And again, I think as he got older, I think a lot of people started to give him his flowers a bit more.
He got better, didn't he?
Yeah. A great player for Croatia. And then on the right-hand side, I went with Ronaldinho. Again,
Well, you're going to miss a few out here, Charlie.
I'm
You
missing a
are
few
really
out,
good.
yeah. Yeah, I think again part of that 2002 Brazil World Cup squad in that summer. I think the summer after he went on to, he really shot him up, didn't it? Because he ended up joining Barcelona afterwards and things like that. But yeah, I mean, just a generational football made so many kids fall in love with the game. I think you miss that these days. But he had a great World Cup, yeah. And then my two strikers, I've gone with Brazilian Ronaldo for the France '98 World Cup. It was that World Cup. There was just so much talk about him, and then there was that big thing in the final, didn't it? He had a fit, and then they dropped him from the team, and then he was back in. But he shouldn't have played, should he? But then he redeemed himself in 2002. I think he became the top goal scorer, scored 2 goals in the final, and he was a brilliant striker. I know he was a bit of a party boy, but if he had kept injury free and been a bit more professional, yeah, I think a lot of people would have probably said he was definitely up there, probably better than Ronaldo and
Yeah, I
Messi.
agree.
And my other striker, I was desperate to pick at least one English player, so I went with Harry Kane when he won the Golden Boot.
You've left out Messi. You've left out Ronaldo.
I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo has had a great World Cup where I sit there and go, he was one of the best players in the tournament. And again, with Messi, I know he won the World Cup 4 years ago, and I know he got player of the but I watched Argentina for me, and I don't. That's not the Messi that I know. I don't. He scored a lot of penalties, and I'm just like, yeah, I think there were players who had better tournaments.
Yeah, that's a great side, Charlie. And the thing is, like we say about all the time, it's no good having great players if the team isn't balanced, is it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I'll try. I didn't want to base it just off of names. I mean, I really like Davor Suker. Again, he had a great tournament. James Rodriguez for Colombia had a great tournament for Colombia, and that's kind of, Miroslav Klose is the all-time leading goal scorer in World Cups. But yeah, I'll try basing it off of like the people that really stuck in my mind. I mean, I always thought N'Golo Kante had a great World Cup for France when they won it.
I think what's his name? I'm trying to think of him. The little black guy who played for Real Madrid. What's his name? He was like N'Golo Kante, weren't he? One of Claude Makelele. I think he was great.
Yeah. I think the one I felt really hard done by was probably Mbappe in 2018. He had a real good World Cup, and he was only a teenager then. And then even in the previous World Cup, scored a hat trick in a World Cup final. France were terrible that day for the first hour. I think he was the one that was probably really hard done by the most out of my team.
Yeah, apparently he's a bit of a Rashford character. Don't like running. He's one of the problems that Xavi Alonso's been slung at. I mean, when you sit down and you really get excited about a game. I remember I was telling you recently, weren't I? I watched the first PSG Bayern game, and I wanted to watch the second leg. I thought, 5-4, it weren't as great. I always remember sitting down to watch the Germany Brazil game, which was in Brazil. And the players come out, and I always remember David Luiz running round the pitch before the game started. And it was almost like he was on something. Do you remember that goal that Maradona scored in the World Cup where he got sent home and he went to the camera and his eyes were that big, weren't they? And you knew he was on something, and he got sent home. He failed the drug test, didn't he? But I remember David Luiz going around the players and slapping her, and they just imploded, didn't they? I think they was 5 up, the Germans, by half time, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about shocking moments in World Cups, I think Germany beating Brazil 7-1 in Brazil, in the Maracanã, in a World Cup knockout game, it's got to be up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think he right. When you get a kid like that, I remember when I first bought you your FIFA, right? And because I'm useless on FIFA, you used to kick off and run with the ball and go and score. The first couple of FIFAs weren't that good, were they? And
No.
David Luiz reminded me of a kid with a FIFA controller. He just was all over the pitch. He wasn't where he should be, And most thing I took away from that, because of their, the way that the Brazil fans celebrate and they got the drum and all the girls, etc. There were so many people crying. when they went on the kids, there was kids crying, there was women crying, there was men crying. It was just a total embarrassment to the nation. I think it really was. Do you know
It
what I mean?
was. I think they kind of almost started from scratch, didn't they? After that, they kind of went and looked at things and tried to change, tried to go back to basics almost. I think it was a real embarrassment for the country. And like, yeah, I mean, in Brazil, you got two religions, didn't you? You got Catholicism in football.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie, you picked out who you think would win it, i.e., you think it might be France. If you had to have a dark horse that no one's thinking about, who you think could be, because of their group they got in, where they'll work through. I think England have been really lucky in a couple of World Cups. The play
Yeah.
they've come through, they've not had to meet anyone. If you had to pick an outsider, who would you pick?
I mean, I don't think this year I could say there's like a group of death where I'm like, oh, like big teams going at it, because I think you could finish third and still go through. But I think my dark horse, because I look at their squad and I think a lot of their players have had a good season, especially their forwards, is Norway.
No, that was going to be mine. Exactly the same. Yeah, I looked at Norway. I mean, when the Icelandics went there, do you remember that clap? The
thunderclap, yeah.
Yeah, and was it that commentator? Did we lose to Norway? Was it in the Euros or the Worlds when he went Maggie Thatcher wins the church?
It
When he
was
went
either Norway or Sweden, wasn't it?
Yeah, your boys took one hell of a beating. I've got to be honest. I think commentators are hilarious. Personally, I'm saying with you. I think Norway have got a real good chance. But living in Spain, I'd like to see Spain win it. You know what I mean? It goes down. Yeah, well, Charlie, somehow or other, we've got to 51 minutes. We normally blame Robbie for jagging on. Absolutely amazing. We could talk all day. And I never mentioned the price of tickets once, did I, Charlie?
No, you didn't.
Oh, Donald Trump. Charlie, have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Please send in your best 11s. Guys, be respectful in the comments. Take care, everyone. Be lucky.
Bye.